Russia strikes Ukraine's nuclear waste storage facility. A Russian drone struck a building at Ukraine's centralized spent nuclear fuel storage facility in the early hours of Sunday, June 7, 2026, in an attack that Ukrainian nuclear operator Energoatom says caused structural damage but left radiation levels within normal limits. The strike hit the container reception building at the centralized spent nuclear fuel storage facility, known by its Ukrainian acronym TsSVYAP, at 2:10 a.m. local time. Energoatom stated that no spent nuclear fuel was stored in the damaged building at the time of the impact. A fire covering approximately 40 square meters, 430 square feet broke out and was quickly contained and extinguished. No personnel casualties were reported. The company said it continues round-the-clock monitoring of the situation and is coordinating with all relevant state services. The TsSVYAP facility is located near Kornobylska nuclear power plant in northern Ukraine and serves as the country's primary centralized repository for spent nuclear fuel from Ukrainian reactors. The facility was built in cooperation with the American company Holtec International and uses dry cask storage technology, in which spent fuel assemblies are sealed inside large steel and concrete containers designed to passively contain radiation without requiring active cooling systems. Dry cask storage is among the most robust forms of nuclear waste containment in civilian use, capable of withstanding significant physical impact. The container reception building, where incoming fuel casks are processed before placement in storage, is a functional support structure rather than a primary containment structure, which is consistent with Energoatom's statement that radiation levels at the site remained normal following the strike. That context matters, but it does not diminish the gravity of a deliberate attack on nuclear infrastructure. The International Atomic Energy Agency has maintained a continuous presence at Ukrainian nuclear facilities since the early months of Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022, responding to repeated incidents at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, Europe's largest nuclear facility, which Russian forces occupied in the first weeks of the war. Zaporizhzhia has been the subject of international alarm on multiple occasions as shelling, power supply disruptions, and staffing pressures have raised concerns about the plant's safety margins. The June 7 strike on TsSVYAP represents a different category of target, a waste storage facility rather than an operating reactor, but the principle is the same. Attacking nuclear infrastructure creates radiological risk and exploits the international community's sensitivity to nuclear incidents as a form of psychological and strategic pressure. The company's statement attributed the attack to Russia and described it as another demonstration of what it called the Kremlin regime's deliberate creation of nuclear and radiological safety threats. Once again, Russia continues to act as a terrorist state and nuclear terrorist, disregarding international law and the safety of millions of people, Energoatom said. Russia has previously denied responsibility for attacks on Ukrainian nuclear infrastructure and has at various points accused Ukrainian forces of shelling Zaporizhzhia, claims that IAEA monitors on the ground and Western governments have consistently disputed. The pattern of strikes on Ukrainian energy and infrastructure targets, which has included power stations, transformer yards, and heating infrastructure across multiple winters of the conflict, has been widely documented by international organizations and attributed to deliberate Russian targeting policy rather than incidental damage. The TsSVYAP facility's location near Kornobyl carries symbolic and practical significance that extends beyond its technical function. The Kornobyl exclusion zone remains one of the most radiologically sensitive areas in Europe, 40 years after the 1986 disaster that rendered large portions of northern Ukraine and Belarus uninhabitable and released radioactive contamination that reached as far as Western Europe. Russian forces occupied the Kornobyl site in the opening days of the February 2022 invasion, withdrawing after approximately 5 weeks, during which IAEA and Ukrainian authorities raised serious concerns about staff conditions and facility management. A strike in the same general area now, against a different nuclear facility, will inevitably heighten international attention to the radiological dimensions of the conflict. Energoatom said the situation at the site remains under continuous monitoring and that all responsible state services are fully engaged. The June 7 strike on TsSVYAP did not occur in isolation. On February 14, 2025, A Russian Garan-2 drone struck the new safe confinement structure at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant itself. The $2.2 billion steel arch completed in 2019 with funding from 45 countries specifically to contain the radioactive remains of Reactor 4 destroyed in the 1986 disaster. The IAEA confirmed the strike after its personnel on site heard the explosion at approximately 1:50 a.m. local time. IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi subsequently confirmed that the structure had lost its primary safety functions, including confinement capability, though no increased radiation levels were recorded. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot estimated the repair cost at approximately $550 million. As of April 2026, comprehensive restoration remained incomplete, with the IAEA warning that further degradation posed long-term nuclear safety risks. Taken together, the February 2025 strike on the confinement structure and the June 2026 strike on TsSVYAP establish a documented pattern of Russian drone attacks against nuclear infrastructure in the same geographic cluster, each individually short of causing a radiological emergency, but collectively eroding the safety margins that protect millions of people across Ukraine and Europe.